All right, this one's going to be a little bit longer than normal, but it's about the election, right? And this is a very important topic. I have no confidence in the election in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Georgia, and Nevada. I think the election has been stolen. Now, it's hard to say exactly how the election has been stolen. It's small little things here and there. And they're saying that nothing that they found rises to the level of altering the outcome of the election. That's really not what I'm looking at. I have no confidence in the election because of the way that the returns were counted. So in all of these states, they told observers they were going to stop counting, and then they sent the observers home. Then, in the dead of night, all of a sudden the vote totals switched from Trump to Biden, and then when the observers came back to look the next day, all of a sudden Biden was in the lead, and he maintained that lead. That's unacceptable. That's absolutely unacceptable. The idea that Biden won this election is statistically, I know people have thrown a lot of statistics around, right? And there are a couple of different statistical indicators that say, this person should win versus that person. One of those is new voter registration. I personally track the Delta, right? Who are, people in 2016, how many people had voted for Trump who are disillusioned and want to vote for Biden? How many people voted for Hillary Clinton and regretted that and now are voting for Trump? It seems to me that Delta goes for Trump, right? The most people, 10-1, were saying that they had switched to Trump instead of away from Trump. You look at like I said, voter registration. You look at the excitement indexes. You look at the question of who do you think your friends are going to vote for, and it was definitely going for Trump. The only indicator that said Biden was going to win were polls that we know were wrong. Like, these polls were off by 8 to 15 points in some cases, right? So we know they were flawed, and to say that the only indicator that accurately predicted was one that we already know is way off is really hard to swallow. It's not just getting struck by lightning. It's standing out in a field and getting struck by every bolt in a storm. It's impossible. Now, since I believe that to be the case, and also, it's not my job to prove that the election was stolen. So one of the things that we've seen with the media narrative is that they say, oh, well, there was no evidence. And they said that for a couple of weeks, and now, it's mounting, the evidence is mounting, and they can't say there's no evidence anymore. Now they've switched to there's no proof. Well, it's not on us to prove it. It's on the election officials to have a free and fair election that is transparent and obtains the confidence of the voters, right? So what they did in sending people home, and this is in multiple states, right? They sent the observers home, said, we're not going to count anymore. Then all of a sudden, before the counters returned, it's flipped over to Biden. And there was a huge, a lot of counting had been done with no one watching. There are affidavits saying that they packed those boxes. Now, there is nothing that can be done at this point to figure out which votes were fraudulent and which votes were cast legally. We can't prove that this election was stolen. And the left seems to be saying, the media seems to be saying, if you can't prove it, you have to let us get away with it. And I say, no, that's not the answer. The answer is to follow the constitutional process. We know that there is, the Electoral College is going to meet, they're going to cast the votes, and then there is something else that can occur, and that is that Congress can challenge or basically object to the results of the Electoral College. Now, under the 12th Amendment, at that point, if the Electoral College can't be, if the results don't, if that doesn't result in a victory, if the Electoral College vote doesn't result in a victory, then Congress votes one vote per state delegation. Now, I don't know necessarily what will be the outcome of this. Now, I know a lot of people think this favors Trump, and it does. It favors him. But I don't know that it can actually work. But I think that it needs to be tried. I think that they need to do it. They need to say, we don't have confidence in the way that these votes were counted. And yeah, we understand that the current vote totals show Biden, but there is no reason to believe that this is true and correct. At this point, we believe that the election has been stolen, and we need to go through that 12th Amendment process. And I'm calling on all of the Republican members of Congress, both existing and the people who will be in office by that point, to say, we challenge the results of this election, and simply go through the constitutional process and see how it plays out. Try. I've got a lawyer friend who likes to say, do the process. It's a take on due process, but it means you don't know what'll happen until you try. You don't give up, because if you give up, you circumvent the possibility of winning. So what we need to do is not give up, challenge the results, and go through the process. That's my call.